Many people learn that between is only used for two things, and among is only used for more than two things. However, this is not a real grammar rule. Between is often used for two things, and among is always used for more than two things. However, that doesn't mean that we can't use between when we have more than two things. In fact, between is often used for more than two things. And to fully understand this, we need to take a look at what these words actually mean. A lot of people think that these two words mean the same thing, and the only difference is that between is for two things, whereas among is for more than two things. And again, this is not correct. So, what is the difference between these two words? We usually use between when we are talking about specific things or specific people. For example, the detective listened to the phone conversation between Max and John. We have two specific people, Max and John. So between is the correct word. The fact that we have two people is not important. What's important is that we have specific people. We know their names. We know who they are. And in yesterday's video, I said we are going to talk about the differences between very, really, so, and to, because there were 4 specific words that I was talking about individually, not as a group. Between was the correct word. We usually use among when we have people or things that we think of as a group or a whole, not as individual people or individual things. For example, among all the criminals in the jail, John was the smartest. We don't know who all the other criminals are. We are thinking of them as a group, not as individual people. Therefore, among is the correct word. Among the things that we discussed that day, I was most interested in our discussion about history. We discussed more than 2 things, but what's important here is that I didn't mention what the things were. I mentioned them all as a group, together. Therefore, among is the correct word. If I wanted to use between, I would have to specify what the other topics were. For example, between history, politics, and science, I was most interested in discussing history. And yes, there are some other situations in which we can use these words in different ways, and there are some situations in which it doesn't really matter which word you use. However, in this video, I really just wanted to make it clear that it's not wrong to use between when you have more than 2 things. So yeah, that's all for today. I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching.